how resilient of a bunch is this?
We had this saying in 22 of just trying to basically put cracks in the dam until it finally breaks.
You organized a night at Pop Stroke with all the guys.
Yeah.
What made you take charge to organize that and like kind of get everything off on the right foot?
Chelsea and I were talking about it this past off season. We were like, hey, going into this next off season or this next season, we're obviously in that leadership role now. We've gotten rid of some guys, so we need to really start to look at how can we get the team together and kind of start that process of building the relationship.
No team has scored more runs in the 8th inning or later than you guys, 30 as of this very point.
I didn't even know that, before you guys.
That's why you come to meet at the Apple. You find
exactly.
out the numbers.
Exactly.
I'm Vito Calisi. This is Jonathan Barron. It's Meet at the Apple, and we're meeting Brandon Nimmo right now. Third time since spring training.
Third time overall.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess if you count the intro.
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5.
Friend of the
That's
show.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Did you say friend of the show?
I would say friend of the show.
That's all we want.
100%.
Now, this team, we're having fun right now, but the fun that you guys have been having, looking at that dugout, winning in Atlanta, everything, it has just seemed like the energy is at a level we haven't seen in a little bit. What's it been like? What's that fun vibe been about?
Yeah, I think, first of all, winning is fun. So we've been winning lately, and you see that, we've won the last 3 series. And that is obviously fun, but you look back and you see, the resiliency of this team, from that tough start, being able to come back from that and the conversations that were being had during that time. I kind of looked at it and I looked around the room and was hearing conversations that was a lot of positive words of affirmation, honestly. And it was, a lot of, hey, it's a long season. We're fine. Let's see, in a couple weeks, in a month or so, let's see where we're at, and let's just keep trying to do the little things each day that are focusing on the process and not the result. And when I was hearing that, it really focused me on, the same things and just trying to say, okay, we're going to take care of the little things each and every day. And when we did that, we started winning, and you started seeing, a lot of the fun and the perspective from the outside that, like, okay, hey, we're still, everybody's having fun. They're looking good, and they're coming back and they're winning games. And I think that's what everybody was seeing. Is it all started back when we weren't doing as well in the beginning. You're seeing that the guys kind of staying the course and not panicking and trying to really just, kind of get through a rough time in the beginning when you didn't really have much to look at as far as like history from, oh, okay, well, hey, they won 10 games in a row, back here or whatever. When it happens right at the beginning of the season, everybody's, kind of freaking out a little bit. And I got to see the guys kind of just be like, you know what, it's fine. Like we're still positive. We're still looking at each and every day. Like, hey, what can I do in order to try and win the game today? What can I do in order to try and win this pitch, beat this pitcher, get the next guy in, and from the pitching standpoint, make this pitch, get that out. Do I need a strikeout here? Do I need a ground ball double play? And when they did that, we were able to go on the road and kind of start clicking, and it started slowly, but eventually, the offense broke out into where Atlanta, we ended up scoring those 16 runs, and our pitching has stayed really consistent through that. And so I think, a lot of the fun that you're seeing now started from just that consistency in the beginning when we weren't doing as well, of keeping that same attitude of focusing on the little things each and every day.
So I think the name of the game here for you guys especially is resiliency. I don't know if you know this, but no team has scored more runs in the 8th inning or later than you guys, 30 as of this very point. And we've talked with Mendy. He's talked about it. Even when you weren't able to come back fully against the Braves, you still pushed them. You still made them think. You still got their closer up. So how resilient of a bunch is this?
Yeah. I think I didn't even know that, before you guys.
That's why you come to meet at the Apple. You find out the numbers.
Exactly. But it's something that I think that we can pull on and use as confidence builders, and something that keep going on in the season. You can look back on and be like, listen, just stay the course here, because I've been really proud of this group. On we had this saying in 22 of just trying to basically put cracks in the dam until it finally breaks. And if we can do that as a unit and be pulling on the same end of the rope the whole game, I think we'll do a really good job of, kind of be able to just keep pressing on those pitching staffs until they finally break. The pitchers are really good now. They get paid to hold us down, but I really think that when we kind of press on them as a whole, and we put good at bat after good at bat up, it becomes really hard to hold us down. And so I think that's what you've seen the guys come in and still just focus on winning one pitch at a time. And when they do that, then it just really makes it really tough on the pitcher, and eventually you break through. And I didn't know any of that up until this point.
That's why you joined us here on the pod.
Exactly. Those are amazing stats to throw out there, and a lot of confidence builders to show the guys as well. But it's all stemmed from that mentality of like you said, just don't give up until the final out. And just keep pressing on them, because you never know when that dam is going to break and when you're going to break through. And we have an offense that's very long, and it can wear on pitching staffs. And so we understand also that we're not playing for one game, right? So in a series, if you can find a way, which I've been so impressed by the guys so far, like to bring in the closer in the game where it was 6-0, and you come and you bring it back 6-5, and Iglesias threw for 30 minutes the day before too, hoping that they were going to get back in that game. And we ended up, bringing him into the game there, and now, he's potentially down for the next day. And we understand that, going from a long run. So it's not just playing for that day, when you're playing a 162 game season. It's playing for, can we get close enough to bring that closer in the game? Can we get close enough to bring their leverage guys in? And when everybody buys in on that, it's not so much of like, hey, we have to win this game anymore. It's that, hey, let's just put one more run up. Let's put 2 more runs up, and let's see if we can bring their guys in, and then we've got a shot, So I've been really, really impressed with the guys at this point with that mentality.
That mindset, is that something that is instilled in a club in spring training from day one, starting with Mendy, trickling all the way down? Because it's so important to not give away at-bats, like you said, making someone get up in the bullpen, making a guy throw extra pitches, putting a seed of doubt in the opposite dugout.
Right.
Is that where that all comes from Mendy?
Yeah.
Day one in spring training?
No doubt. It definitely does. But I think from the veteran guys that you have, Francisco's preaching it, Pete's preaching it, I'm preaching it, how Bader's preaching it. Like, we have so many guys that understand and have been around the game for long enough that they understand that it's not just for today, it's for the series. And so it starts from the top down, most definitely, but having your veteran leaders, buy into it, and then your younger guys are like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is what we're trying to do. It really helps the clubhouse and us by being able to pull on the same end of the rope and really just work as a unit. So it's been really impressive, and yes, it most definitely starts in spring training.
Now, that energy that we talked about before and just the camaraderie, all of that we see at spring training. And one thing we saw before you guys came back was you organized a night at Pop Stroke with all the guys.
Yeah.
What made you take charge to organize that and kind of get everything off on the right foot?
Yeah, I think, I've been able to have some pretty good mentors along the way. I had Curtis Granderson, David Wright, Jay Bruce, Max Scherzer, Verlander, and these guys were always really big about getting guys together and creating that like team camaraderie. And so Chelsea and I were talking about it this past offseason. We were like, hey, going into this next offseason or this next season, we're obviously in that leadership role now. We've gotten rid of some guys, so we need to really start to look at, how can we get the team together and kind of start that process of building the relationship. And so let's get everybody together, off the field, where people can kind of let their hair down a little bit, not talk about baseball all the time, get to see the families, have everybody kind of just get together. And so we thought, Pop Stroke was the great place to do it. It's easy. It's easy to rent out the whole place. People can go play putt-putt. People can go, have ice cream. We had a face painter there. We had for the kids. We had balloon animals, and there's cornhole, and like it's just a place. And you can get good food. You can get drinks. Guys can kind of just like relax and be there with their families. And then everybody can start to talk and like start to build that team chemistry. And honestly, just starts one step at a time. It's not all going to happen in one night, but you just have to have little events along the way where you can get guys to come together and be able to, be able to talk about other things other than baseball. And if baseball comes up, that's great. You can talk about ways to improve the team, things that have gone well on other teams that they think should be brought here, and things that have not gone well that they think should stay away. And being able to get a bunch of minds together and, kind of come up with a game plan on, hey, this is how we would like things to operate. And this is, what makes things comfortable, because when guys are comfortable and when their families are comfortable, it's going to show on the field. It's going to go into there. If they're stressed at home, if their family's stressed, if they don't know anybody, if they feel like they're on an island, then guys come into here stressed out. And so we want to make sure that it's as comfortable of a place as possible. And so that was kind of just the first step into that.
And did anything happen that night that's like still gets referenced, like any funny things that you guys still joke about?
No, I mean, everybody just, thought it was funny that Jeff had the course record on.
What was the number? What was the number? Do you know?
It was like, I want to say it was like 36 or 37
on the red course, because there's the black and the red course.
I think the hard course is easier than the
easier course.
I think when they designed it, whoever was like, this is A, this is B, they got it twisted.
They got it twisted. They got it flip-flopped.
Also, we talked about this when we went there. It's a danger. There's like all these hills that come out of nowhere.
Yeah, you could twist an ankle. You could twist an ankle real quick.
Yeah, if you're not paying attention and you take a wrong step, there's 1,000%. You can go wrong. But fortunately, we didn't have any of that happen that night. I think guys were just talking. It was a good way to bring guys like competitively together, like on something other than baseball. And so you just start to get to know the personality of the person, and like, okay, oh, hey, like Shorty, he's competitive, and like, and then, start to get some talking back and forth, and you're like, okay, these guys, they can handle it. And you just start to figure out, okay, how far can you push on some guys? How far, should you stay away from that topic on other guys, And so it's just really figuring out like the different personalities that are there. And I think that's the best thing that came out of that night, is getting the families together, so that they could join each other and kind of just like put a face, to a name, like, okay, you belong to this person, and okay, you guys have kids, so you understand this and that. Where can we be in Long Island City? Where can we do all that? Like, we were trying to help people out with like, where do you want to live? When you're in New York City, this is where we're at. This is where some other people live. And so you start to get some of those questions out of the way. And I think that's the best thing that came out of it, is just that camaraderie. And like, you're starting to get some of the first questions and like some of the things that people are wondering about New York City when they're coming for the first time to live there. You get some of that out of the way, and you kind of just, are like, okay, here's what you can really expect.
Yeah.
Your own scouting.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
And it's important because, people watch you guys on TV, they come to the games, and it's easy to forget that, you guys are real people with living needs and personal needs.
Yeah,
so,
right.
to hear that getting to know you is a part of being a part of a baseball team, and it's a very important aspect.
Very important.
It's interesting insight. Now, I want some insight.
Okay.
Who's the worst mini golfer on the squad?
The worst mini golfer on the squad.
Yeah, out him. Let's hear it.
The best is.
Yeah.
I mean, McNeil's
probably brought his own putter,
best, but Shorty gave him a run for his money. Short's really good.
Who's shooting fives?
I think maybe. Man, I don't know. I only played with one group, and honestly, they were pretty good. I was with Manea.
Come on, Brandon.
This is the hardest question we're gonna ask.
Come on, Brandon.
I mean, honestly, I have no clue, because they were all good. I might have been the worst one out of all of them.
What a guy!
So I'm just gonna say that I'm probably the
unreal.
worst one.
It's unreal. It's unreal. Yeah,
the nicest guy in baseball.
I mean, it's the truth, probably. I mean, it was those guys were all good. And I didn't see anybody out there that was like
struggling.
Yeah,
was there a putter? Was there a putter throw?
Putter throw?
No putter throw.
Putter throw.
We need a clip,
Yeah, I know, right? But I mean, everybody was pretty good, and so no, I think that I was probably the worst one, honestly.
Okay. Well, you guys had a sushi dinner the other night that Kodak Senga hosted. How did that come together, and what was that night like?
Yeah, Senga, he wanted to do something for the team, because he feels like he's a little bit on the outside looking in right now, with not being able to help out pitching wise, and so he wanted to do something where he could get everybody together, and fortunately it worked out where we were able to have those 2-day games, and so he did it on the second day of the day games on this last weekend. And we got a bus to take us there, so that we didn't have to drive in the traffic and all that stuff. And come back, and it really worked out perfectly. But he had a nice little connection in the city. Don't ask me to pronounce the restaurant. I do not know how to pronounce it, but it was authentic. He told us this was like authentic Japanese barbecue that he would actually eat over in Japan. He said the place was actually even famous over in Japan. And when I tell you, like, it was some of the best food that I've ever had. I mean, it was unbelievable, and Kodak treated us to it. And he just kind of introduced us to a little bit of his culture as well, because you got to understand, like, he's speaking a new language. Yeah. He's around a totally new culture. And so for him, this is a little piece of home that is, he's able to, okay, this feels a little more normal. Right. And so for us to be able to enjoy that with him, I love that. And, he's just such a great teammate, such a great guy. And he just wanted to express it in a way that he could get everybody together. And he even gave a little speech while we were there that was like, hey, I know I'm not able to help on the field right now, but just want to, provide this as, a way to keep getting together and keep building that camaraderie. And, let's keep winning and keep, having each other's backs. And so just a really great gesture by him to take us out.
Sounds like the sushi Goma of New York City.
I mean, it was unbelievable. We didn't, and believe it or not, we didn't have any sushi while we were there. It was all just cooked right in front of you on the barbecue.
Hot.
Yeah. And
that's the best.
Yeah. And it was mostly Wagyu, and it was unbelievable. I mean,
a grade A.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And I mean, when I tell you some of the best meat that I've ever had, like it really was. And so he did it up for us, and it was most definitely a big league dinner. It was a very showy dinner. Rented out the whole place for us, and so. We had such a blast, and it was so great because, again, I got to get one-on-one with Tyrone and McGill and Manea, and just kind of talking with them about, especially Tyrone and Manea, like, how you like in New York so far? How are you, where are you guys living at? And, how's that going? How's your family doing? Like all that stuff that sometimes doesn't come up at the field. And you just are able to get to know each other better that way. And then just asking, Kodai about, like, hey, so like, what's your favorite dish, from this place? Or like, what's your favorite dessert from here? Like how is this compared to back home? How is it, and just trying to, get to know him better as well. Because it's going to be it's going to be a process. We've still got many years together. And so we want to be as close as possible and trying to get this team chemistry as good as possible.
You got to bring him to a Jackson Hole. Give him a taste of Wyoming.
I know. I haven't even been there.
No?
I got to go.
Oh, come on, man.
It's a solid burger joint, right?
Yeah, there's two of them, right?
Yeah. For you, there's one right over here. I grew up on that burger.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I remember being like a 3-4 years old. My mom started taking me to the one on the Upper East Side.
Yeah.
It's a big steamed burger.
Oh.
You can't beat it. Yeah,
no shakes. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
monstrous amount of food.
All right.
Now, you've lived in New York for how many years now?
So it's been 7 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you consider yourself a New Yorker at this point?
I don't know if I consider myself a New
people
Yorker.
are going to you for advice. And
yeah, I'm well versed here. I don't know if I would say that I am like a New Yorker. I'm not gonna be able to show you like every like hole in the wall spot, in Manhattan or whatever. Like I'm still looking for myself. But I do have some solid advice that I can give, especially in the Long Island City area. We lived there for 6 years, and we absolutely enjoyed our time there. It was a blast, and we had our restaurants that we would go to for date night, and we'd go walk around on the park that it just looked like a movie scene,
Gantry
like
Plaza.
all the others. Yeah, it was unbelievable. Sometimes I was like, is that even real over there? And so I'm able to give some of that advice, but I wouldn't call myself I'm not like the New Yorker that knows every like little dive spot that you're supposed to go and like, oh, this is a hole in the wall no one knows about. I'm still trying to find all that out myself, but I can help out a little bit. And
what's
so
your go-to restaurant recommendation you give somebody?
Well, I love in Long Island City.
LIC.
Yeah, in Long Island City, I would always, Maella was always right at the top of it. So it was an Italian spot that we would go to that it's literally right on that like Gantry Park Plaza area. If you're looking out the back windows, you can see the Empire and the Chrysler building. You know, and it's got great food, and we would go there a lot. Also would do Jora Jora, and it was Peruvian food.
I almost went there this weekend.
Did you really?
Yeah, me and my wife were making plans. We almost went there.
Please do. And then get the. We ordered one time. We ordered the salchipapas, which at the beginning of the meal we were like, "What? You know, what is this?" And they were like, "Yeah, just get them. Like, it's good." And it ended up coming out, and it was just like little hot dogs and fries. Okay. And then it came out with like this sauce that honestly the sauce makes it, where it was like had to be like some honey mayo or something like that, and it was unbelievable. So highly recommend that. Get the salchipapas. But then I did like the I think it was like the pollo anillo or something like that, but it was like a creamy chicken. Kind of reminded me of a dish that my mom used to make when I was, you know, way back home in high school and whatnot, and you know, elementary school. But just rice and chicken and like creamy, and like has quail egg on top and pine nuts, I think is what was on there.
You sound
and it was
fancy right now.
Dude, it was.
He's a New Yorker.
It was unbelievable.
It's a New Yorker.
Oh, it was so good.
Talk about quail
I
eggs.
love. Oh my gosh, I love the food in New York. Like I miss it when I'm not here, and you know, I just think that I think it's the best. You know, I love that you can go and you can get Peruvian on one corner, Indian, like some of the best Indian food you've had on another corner, and then like Italian, and then go get some like American food, like all in the one spot, and it'll be some of the best you've ever had. So I love that about it. I try and, you know, become better versed on the food here, because that's one of the things that I like always recommend to the guys is like, if you're gonna be here, like enjoy the food, you know, because it's one of the only places in the world that like you can get all of that stuff and it'll be unbelievable in like one area. And so I'm all about that. But those are my two go-tos in LIC. And you know, we absolutely loved it.
Well, speaking of enjoying the food, the meal that you guys had on Sunday seemed like the perfect cap to a beautiful day, of course, Doc Gooden ceremony.
Yes.
From your guys' perspective, how special was it to be part of that? This is not the first one you've been a part of. You were here for Kuzmin.
Yep.
You were here for Keith.
Yep.
Now Doc, and of course we have Daryl coming up on June 1st. So how special is it for you, who's kind of writing your own Mets history, to be on the field and be a part and just be, you know, take that whole thing in?
Yeah. You know, it's awesome because I think you're seeing an organization celebrate its players that made a huge impact on it, and a huge impact on that fan base. And you know, you obviously see the highlights and everything that Doc had and that he did. He made such a huge impact on the Mets fan base. And so just to be able to honor him, you know, in that way, I think is so special, not just for him, but for his family and also for the fan base, you know, as you saw with the showing for him. You know, I wish the weather would have stayed a little bit better for him. You know, it started to rain in the middle of it, but he made the most of it and did a great job. And I really felt like the Mets have been doing such a good job of really like trying to bring those players back and really memorialize them and thank them for everything they did for the organization. You know, it's been so great. And like you said, like, you know, I look at that and I go, you know, just keep pressing. You know, like I want to be there someday. Hopefully, you know, God willing, I can. But you know, it takes a lot in order to get to those places, and so it's something for me to strive for. But when I look at that and I see that, and I'm like, you know what, that's so awesome that they're celebrating them in that way. You know, it gives me something to strive for as well. And so, you know, I definitely want to make an impact on the fan base the way that Doc and, you know, Keith and all these guys did, you know, and so it kind of gives me something to strive for and examples to look at.
Got one more off the beaten path for you.
Yeah.
Will and Janie from the social team. They gave you a lot of random gifts during spring training.
Yeah.
Which was your favorite?
Which my favorite was the dancing cactus, man. That
All right.
thing,
I love that thing.
That thing was unbelievable.
I don't even have kids, and I almost bought it just for fun.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, man.
Do you still play? Do you like give it noises and
No,
stuff?
I haven't yet because it's a little bit. It freaked me out a little bit when it started like quoting me and like turning my voice into like a Chucky sound,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But I think just the sheer surprise that I got from it because I had no idea what it was, and then we just started playing around with it, and I just was like, every time it kept like one-upping. I was like, "Oh, that's really cool," and then it was, oh my gosh, it's like copying my voice. So I thought that thing was awesome and would definitely give that as a gift to someone else.
5 stars.
5 stars. Exactly.
much.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brandon Nimmo.
Was that a drop or was that fresh?
That was
That was fresh.
well. I mean, yeah. I mean, remember, this isn't Future of Flushing. We're on video now. There's
That's
no.
right.
This
Yeah.
isn't the theater of the mind now. So that was a reference to our first episode that we were kind of featured in.
Yeah. I mean, Brandon's what? That's 3 times on the show now. He's
2.5. We discussed it with him in the interview,
2.5. That's right. That's right.
and he said friend of the show, so that was cool.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's the best. Anytime we can pick his brain, it's awesome. And speaking of awesome, you were there Friday night. So let's just get right into it. Let's talk about it. Because I've never been there. How awesome was Dodger Stadium?
Dude, Dodger Stadium, third oldest stadium in baseball, which I think people forget because the 2 oldest are so old. Dude, Dodger fans are loud. Dodger fans are friendly. They're nice. Like, nobody was being rude to me wearing my Met stuff. I made friends with the guys right behind me who were Dodgers fans. We were talking about both teams, the excitement they have for this team they've put together. You enter Dodger Stadium from the top. Like, imagine you walked in the Citi Field from the 6th floor.
Real, so it's like it's inverted.
It's inverted. It's not like DC. DC, you enter and like the lower bowl is below you. Dodger Stadium, you're entering from the top level, and you're looking down at the stadium. So like, I took a picture when I walked in, and then I was gonna post it, and I was gonna be like, "Oh, it looks like I'm sitting all the way in the back." But Edgar, who runs up Team Travel, was able to hook me and some friends up with some incredible tickets.
That's awesome. Edgar's the man, so I'm glad to hear that. So, all right, Mets get out to a big lead. Just what was the whole night like?
Well, so I actually got a chance to meet some people from the Dodgers staff, their production team, which was really cool.
Okay, cool.
They showed me their production room. They showed me their offices. Some differences between how we do our control room and how they do theirs. So I didn't see their control room. I want to give a mention to Aaron from the Dodgers, who's one of their main production people, who was able to take me around and like just show me a few things. And we had like a really fun conversation about both working in baseball. He actually, a few nights earlier, was Jackie Robinson Day there, and they gave out this sick like wool Jackie Robinson hat, and they had a few lying around, and he actually gave me some for me and my friends. So that it was just a really nice thing. But I was talking to him in the first inning. I came back to my seats, and I think at that point the Mets were up 1-0 when I got back to my seats. The first thing I saw was the DJ Stewart rip.
That was quite a rip by DJ, who's been inferno recently.
Ever since we put his interview out, it seems like DJ Stewart's been on fire.
Yeah, all right. So you saw the facilities. How were they? They were awesome.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's not a modern stadium, so it's different. You know, like you're not walking into like, this isn't like walking into Citi Field where you're seeing like all the newest technology and like these like gigantic boards with like 3D boards in the outfield. It's not like that. It's a very classic ballpark built around built 2 years before Shea. And like you're seeing Dodgers fans walk in. I actually did the classic New York thing of we went to a taco place before and I saw that it was an 8-minute walk. And I was like, oh, cool. So we'll just Uber to the taco place and then walk over to the ballpark. And it was not an 8-minute walk. It was like a mile hike, basically uphill. So then I get to the stay seats and I'm like pouring sweat talking to these guys in production. But the area is cool. They have like all these like these giant Dodger bobbleheads outside. Really just nice ballpark, big concourses, but like it's like Shea, dude. It's like the old Shea Stadium where like the concourses are all like inside. You don't see the stadium until you go through the concourse. I didn't get to walk around the outfield that much. I didn't get to walk around the grounds because I ended up talking to the production guys so long that the game started and I just wanted to get to my seats. And like, again, like Shea Stadium, just every seat, you have a good view of the ballpark. Like you can see everything from everywhere.
Yeah. Well, you also saw an incredible win on Friday. I mean, how about that? Late inning dramatics after both teams commit some errors and help each other out a little bit. But Francisco Lindor's home run, what a moment. So what was that moment, I wonder, like in the stadium for you?
All right. For me, it was confusion because I forgot where I was. I was wearing my Lindor jersey. Francisco Lindor hits that home run. I'm sitting, at that point, I'm sitting in the first row of the loge. I burst up out of my seat and start screaming. And then I look around and I'm like, oh yeah, nobody else is screaming. So I sit back down. And then the Dodger fans were like, no, dude, you wore his jersey. Like, take a bow, dude. Like, you You called it. So the stadium was silent for that. Also, it's like I don't go to away games that much. So like every time like let's go Dodgers, I'm like just like what's the bell, like the Pavlov's dog, like every time I hear the I'm just going let's go Dodgers, and I'm like, oh no, wrong team, wrong blue. But it was really cool to see Francisco have that moment. If you saw after the game, he actually said that after Joey Wendell had that error, he went out there with the intention of like, Joey's picked us up all year, it's time for us to pick him up.
Yeah, no, I mean that was big time. That was a back and forth game, and tough sixth inning for the Mets, of course, but for the Mets to take the punch and punch back like that was huge. So for them to win that game, also massive shout out Harrison Bader, who we love here on the show. Harrison, his second career 4-hit game. And Vito, I'm not going to pose the trivia question. I'm just going to say it. Entering Sunday, no Met had a higher WAR than Harrison Bader.
Yeah, man. Harrison Bader, that game, every single at bat, just like, I'm excited. We like Harrison. Harrison's been really nice to Jon and I, has like been willing to do stuff with us. Was really friendly at spring training. So like every time he was up, I was pumped up. And every time he was up, he delivered. I mean, like, it was really cool to see him out there, just like really coming into his own as a Met over the last week.
Yeah, no, Harrison's been great. We talked about it last episode. Stability in the outfield and him bringing out the plate as well. He's a valuable player. Vito, I got a little frog in my throat. I guess I have to address it. Can you hear the frog?
A tiny bit. I'm not wearing headphones, so I can't hear it as much, but like I do hear you like almost coming in and out. But I do want to say Harrison Bader, the sliding catch he had out in center field towards the wall in person, so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, dude's a great athlete. We know that. We've seen him up close in person. He's a specimen physically, and he's been playing great for the Mets. And I know a lot of people don't realize that he's leading the team in WAR. So that's why I wanted to bring that up, because he has been that valuable to the team. So where were you on Saturday as the Mets pulled out another fantastic victory? What were your LA whereabouts for that?
All right. Well, so first of all, Thursday I went to Universal Studios. Me and Ala went for the day, had a really nice time. We got a pass that let us like go on every single ride without a wait. So like we were able to do everything in a day. Went on a studio tour. I'm a big movie fan, so I was able to see the Back to the Future set, which was like, for me, was like really cool. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's the reason I went to film school. So seeing the Hill Valley Clock Tower set was incredible. But so Saturday I was actually at Santa Monica. I was on the beach. We spent the day, walked to the pier. My wife really wanted to go on the Ferris wheel, so we went one spin on that. Then hung out on the beach for a little, and then went to this bar called Bungalow Bar, which like I'm in a group chat with a bunch of friends named after that bar because we've all enjoyed that place in the past. So spent some time there, and then for dinner went to this fantastic restaurant in LA. Any Mets fans going out to LA, it's called Crudo y Nudo. Some of the best seafood I've ever had. It's mostly raw. Just great day. Saturday was great. And I'm sure my wife was not happy with sitting at Bungalow, me just constantly. I claim not to be superstitious, but sometimes I get superstitious. I had the game on MLB TV. Lead was going up and down. So then I said, okay, when the Mets don't do well and I'm watching on TV, what do? I switch to Game Day. And then I was just constantly refreshing Game Day and watching that. Which, have you seen the new Game Day 3D feature?
Yes, and it's amazing. It's awesome.
I didn't know about it.
That's funny you said that. I was so late in the game yesterday. I went for some sushi with my family as well, and I was following on Game Day, and I noticed the amazing feature as well. It's great. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's basically like watching it on TV. You just don't see people. Like it's nuts.
Yeah. And it's funny because like partially when I was at dinner, I was watching, and part of the time I was just following on Game Day. And Game Day does the trick often, but when Edwin came in the game, we're switching MLB TV. We're watching that.
Yeah. Edwin Díaz comes out. It was our first 8th inning Edwin Díaz moment, and like high leverage, high pressure situation. And Edwin is as dominant as ever, but I think what was more exciting about that for me and you was who closed the game.
Yeah, well, the entire last 6 outs that the Mets had to find a way to get was very intriguing and exciting for a multitude of reasons. Number one is that we saw how Carlos Mendoza views the end of a game, and that is get the outs as you can. So Edwin comes into the game in a high leverage spot, and he's using the eighth inning, and he gets the job done. Gets Max Muncy, who, by the way, does not chase. One of the best eyes in baseball, one of the lowest chase rates in baseball. And Edwin gets him to go fishing. And then the ninth inning comes around, and you're thinking, will it be an up down? Will Carlos Mendoza use Edwin for 5 outs possibly? And it's Reed Garrett on the mound. And Reed Garrett strikes out the side in order. 1, 2, 3, just unreal, dominant stuff. And I'm looking forward to talking to Carlos again and asking him about that sequence and what was going through his mind when he, the top of the Dodger lineup is no joke.
Yeah.
And it goes 5 deep. It goes, Mookie, Shohei, Freeman, Teoscar, and Muncy on Saturday. That's arguably the best 1 through 5 in baseball. So how are you trying to navigate that over and over? And for the Mets to do it so successfully, and especially with runners on, which it seems like they did all day on Saturday. And for Edwin to get the job done, and Reed Garrett to come in. A lot of screaming today. I apologize. My voice is completely shot, but it was fascinating and it was exciting to watch. So for my money, Carlos Mendoza couldn't have managed the situation any better.
100%. I mean, I feel like no matter what, without today's game even on the table,
forget it. We're not talking about that.
2 out of 3 from the Dodgers is like, that's a big deal for a team that started this season 0-5 and felt like they were starting the year underwater. To go into LA above 500 and leave LA above 500 and in an even better position, insane. Now, unfortunately, it seems like anytime the Mets go on a winning streak, so does the NL East, and the Phillies and the Braves. They've also been just winning nonstop, but it's early in the season, and you would rather win at the same time as teams than lose when they're winning. So, like, it's been a really good weekend, and being able to see the Mets go up against some of the best players in Major League Baseball. I mean, Shohei Ohtani, he had a really good day Sunday. Rest of the weekend, it really just came down to one moment he had, right?
Yeah, I mean, how about Drew Smith's strikeout of Shohei Ohtani? That was a massive moment, and Drew Smith got the job done. Look, the Mets going into Atlanta, taking 2 out of 3, going to Dodger Stadium, taking 2 out of 3. After the 0-5 start, you looked a little bit ahead, and you said, okay, so if this is to be a season, where do the Mets make up some of these wins? And you looked and you saw Cincinnati, tough team, Atlanta, tough team, then back home, the Royals, who had a good weekend against Baltimore, the Pirates, who were off to a good start. Then you're going to LA and San Fran, which has always been tough. The Mets conquered all those challenges, including the Dodgers this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, look at 2022 when the Mets won 101 games. You know who they played good against? They played good against the Dodgers.
Yeah, they did.
Do you remember that weird series in LA?
I remember JD Davis's go-ahead hit in extra innings.
Do you remember the position pitcher when like the Dodgers were down by 1 or 2 runs?
And they didn't know the rule about 4 runs or less.
Yeah. Like,
yeah,
just weird series. But this was great. I mean, this was like, as negative as these fans could have been about the Mets team week 1, I don't know how you can be anything except positive for what we've seen over the last 2 weeks. 1 bad week of the season versus 2 great weeks. I'll take the 2 great weeks every time.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, 100%. And especially you listen to what Brandon Nimmo just told us. Like, this Mets team is having fun. JD Martinez played in a minor league game today on Sunday, so that's great news as well. I think the league is taking notice of the New York Mets. I really do. So.
And Francisco Alvarez, obviously that's a big hit to this Mets team, but we see everything on Twitter just like you guys see. Looks like it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks, which is a lot better than a lot of worst case scenarios we could have seen. And remember, who was the catcher for that 101 Mets win team that I brought up a few seconds ago? It was Tomas Nido.
Yeah, Tomas calls a great game. The Mets invested in Tomas Nido a few years ago, and That was for a reason. And, the Mets wound up having what seems to be a franchise catcher behind the plate, and that didn't help Tomas's case. But we all know Tomas. Tomas is awesome. So the Mets are in great hands with Tomas. I want to bring up one thing before we sign off, and that is the sports experience from Los Angeles, because the Knicks played yesterday on Saturday.
Yeah.
And it was 3:00 for you,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And then on Sunday, the Rangers play at 3:00, which is noon. And the Islanders also, by the way, played on Saturday, 5 p.m. local, 2:00 for you. So what was it like with just all the sports going on?
So one, I made a very, very friendly deal with my wife of like, we went to one Mets game and then the rest was like, I had to like enjoy our vacation and I couldn't be too locked in on everything that was happening. But it was cool when I had dinner last night. It was wild seeing all the Knicks fans. Obviously, New York, LA transplants is a thing. Tons of Knicks fans out at the bars, and then being at a bar as the Lakers won their first playoff game. Like LA is a big sports city. I mean, like there's no way around it, and it's just like New York, where you have a lot of people from all over. So you're seeing people in different jerseys all over the place. That one's even more difficult because Denver is close enough to here where you have a good amount of fans on both sides, but LA is a Lakers town. It was very hard getting used to the time difference. I much prefer the European, like you're ahead than you're behind. It was really hard for me to get used to when me and you were trying to like figure out if we could record together at any time. I was having a lot of trouble doing the math of like, oh wait, no, like it's gonna be it's 8 p.m. for you right now. And I've been falling asleep like a baby at 9:45, 10 every night. Like I've not adjusted at all.
Yeah. No, every time I go out west and the sports that I'm accustomed to starting at 7 or starting at 4, I love that personally. I think it's awesome.
Oh, I would if I lived in LA, I would love being a Mets fan. Like having like my workday end around watching the first like 3 innings of a game as my workday ends, like driving home, listening to a game for an inning or two, and then finishing it at home, and then I have my whole night. Like that sounds like the life.
Yeah, no, it's great. So you're about to catch a red eye, is that correct?
I am. So I will be flying overnight. I'll be back in New York at 7 a.m. And then I get to stay up until 2 a.m. and watch the Mets play the San Francisco Giants all week.
All right. I mean, we're looking forward to that. Big Knicks win, by the way, Saturday. Islanders fell a little bit short, unfortunately. And if you're not watching the video, we got.
Tell me about before we get out of here. Tell me about your day watching the Rangers game.
Just hung out with some buddies, watched the Rangers. I want to shout out Steve Gelbs, by the way, who on the broadcast shared a new pair of shoes he has, and we'll get Steve on here eventually. But Steve's a big Ranger fan, as you all know, and he got a pair of starter '94 Rangers shoes because the Nikes he had worn previously, apparently their luck had dried out. So that's that he showed him on the broadcast. Cool move by Steve, and I'm superstitious. I don't know if a pair of shoes is going to help them win the cup, but hopefully it works out.
Wait, you are superstitious?
What's that?
I thought you weren't superstitious.
I try not to believe in it, but ultimately,
I think we're the same.
At my core,
I think we're big on. You know what I think it is? Neither of us believe in jinxes, but we both are superstitious.
Yes, at my core, if things are not going well, I'll swap my socks on my feet, or I'll try whatever I can to help break the bad luck.
If the Mets are losing, you know what I do at home?
What's that?
I go over and I do dishes.
I feel like that's a guilt thing more than anything else.
It's a lot. It's guilt. It's like maybe I'll distract myself with the dishes, but I can still see the TV in the background. And it's like maybe the karma of doing dishes will lead the Mets to a comeback win. But I'm on my way back to New York City, and I can't wait to get back because first stop I'm going to make, because I get back at like 7 or 8. I don't know what time the team store opens, but I'm going straight to the team store and I'm getting myself a City Connect jersey.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I mean, I know we're going to talk a lot more about this week, but first of all, shout out everybody that helped with the drop. I mean, it's so many people to name.
Safia, the video that went out. Big shout out to Safia from the editing team, who really just like put her heart and soul into that video that went out. She was the lead editor. You know, you had Taylor and Jake shooting it and some others. Like I believe Dylan was on some shoot days, but the edit was just incredible. Safia did such a good job, and I want to give her all the credit in the world.
Yeah, the whole storyline, just, this uniform really is a part of New York City and what it means to be a New Yorker. So I think the weaving in with that was all so incredible and so real. All us Met fans and New Yorkers, it means something to us. It's true. So just shout out everyone from Bobby all the way down, like you mentioned, Safia, the whole team crushed it.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I don't. I think it's definitely. I'm not going to say best City Connect jersey because we're obviously biased, but it's got to be top 3.
Oh, 100%. The purple
For me,
accents.
it's the best, but I want it because it's a Mets jersey. But like, I don't think there's any debate. You have to put it at the top of the City Connect lines
It's gonna look so clean on the
with the
diamond.
white pants,
It's gonna look so clean this Saturday at home,
dude, and
I
everything that goes
cannot
with
wait.
it. The on-field jacket is nice. The hoodie's nice. I'm getting the beanie. I'm 100% getting the beanie.
The whole thing is incredible. So shout out everybody. And
Are you going to get the Senga one with the Japanese characters on the back?
I have a laundry list of the stuff I want from City Connect. I got from A to Z. I got it.
I
all
got
laid
so
out.
many texts about the Senga one, like from friends being like, "Yo, like this is crazy. Can you please pick it up for me if you're in the stadium this week?" And I was like, "We'll see. We'll see. You might have to get out there yourself, though, Gabe."
Shout out Gabe. But anyway, yeah, can't wait for that. Big week ahead. Mets and San Fran. So we got a lot to talk about on Wednesday, Vito.
Yeah, we do. So we will be back on Thursday morning for everybody talking about the Giants series. Probably playing an Adam Ottavino interview that we recorded at spring training. And when the Mets are back, we should be replenishing our well, and you should see from there on only interviews recorded like that week or the week before. So thank you all for listening. You can subscribe on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to rate. Make sure to give us some stars, leave a review, leave some comments on the YouTube. Tell us what you want to hear more of. What players do you want us to interview? And we'll see you all right back here at the Apple.